Well, Detroit's political maps must be redrawn. That was made official when the U.S. Supreme Court refused to take up an appeal by the state to delay redrawing 13 districts for the state legislature.
In December, a panel of federal judges ruled that the maps drawn in 2021 by an independent commission were illegally based on race. The judges said that although nearly 80% of Detroit residents are black, the voting age population in the 13 Detroit area districts are 45% black at most and as little as 19% in some areas.
The ruling says they must draft state house maps for 7 House districts by February 2nd. They have more time remaining for state Senate seats because their terms don't expire until 2026. Public meetings are being held this week at Huntington Place in Detroit. Some Metro Detroit residents who do not live in those 13 Detroit districts are worried that their new districts may be altered.
Monday morning, I heard other speakers again and again implore the commission not to touch the districts that are unaffected by the recent court decision. Then almost immediately after, the commission started talking about redrawing lines in Southfield and Oak Park, which is outside of the area affected by the recent court decision. I find this immensely concerning, as the work that the commission did previously in these areas was exemplary. There is no need to redraw the full Metro Detroit area.
Joining us now is Detroit School Board member and former state representative Sherry Gay Danyogo. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate both of you.
So this is kind of a convoluted issue. We've been following it for a while. Our viewers have heard about this commission, resignations, now the latest decision from the Supreme Court. For those who live in one of the areas affected by this decision, what does this mean for them?
So, I mean, for those who live in the areas, they'll have an opportunity to make their voices heard on selecting a candidate of choice. I mean, we know that with VRA compliance, that is the requirement when you have a district that has been designed in a way that you have the population that highlights a majority of African Americans in the community and that they have been grossly impacted. And so this will now give them a second chance now, albeit 2 years out, to make sure that they select a candidate of their choice in the House seats. And this for this upcoming election in August. With respect to the Senate seats, there'll be more time because that's a much larger footprint. And both parties, I should say both sides agreed, including our plaintiffs, that moving forward and perhaps disturbing those districts might be a bit more challenging, but we'll see. But for the 7 House seats this coming August, members and community activists, citizens, voters, etc., will be able to select a candidate of their choice in those specific seats.
Sherry, why is there so much emphasis on this need for change? What could be the consequences if something like this were to go unresolved?
Well, I mean, the whole purpose of the Voting Rights Act passing in 1965 was to make sure that those who have been disproportionately impacted with respect to race, with respect to not having a diverse selection of candidates, being able to represent them. Now, if you see that to keep this divide in place would disproportionately impact those in communities to not be able to select a candidate of their choice. And so in going to the legislature, as someone who has served in the legislature, we know that all districts are not created equal, and candidates should represent the area that they come from. And you can't have a state rep, as you saw Judge Kethledge pointed out, being able to really articulate the needs in Birmingham, if they live in Birmingham, and then having to represent constituents in Brightmoor. Certainly, regardless to whatever level of empathy they may have, they don't come from that experience. And so that's the whole purpose of being able to select a candidate of your choice, someone that comes from your community, someone that understands your concerns, the social needs, etc., to be able to be elected by the people. And so we know that it's unfair. We've lost 20% of Black caucus members. We have 22 seats that were carved up with only 7 of those members living in the city of Detroit. And when you start advocating for things like revenue sharing for our schools and revenue for our schools, and auto insurance is one of the key issues that we've seen even with the 8-mile divide, that becomes compromising when you have somebody that lives in another community whose constituents are calling on them to vote another way because they don't want to carry the burden of what might exist on the other side of 8 Mile. And so that's why this is so important that we're able to elect candidates of our choice from our community.
So what are your thoughts on the commission, how the commission is even comprised, and how we got here today? How is the current commission going to do what the last one failed to?
You know what's so challenging with the commission? We had 4 commission members who testified in court, basically being honest about the fact that they were misled. It was the experts that really gave them the wrong information. Anytime you are redesigning, redrawing, redistricting, I should say, according to the Voting Rights Act, you have to use a certain level of data. They used the wrong election data. These were not experts. These were people, regardless of which party ideology they hold, that came to the table with a mindset of trying to do what was right, trying to take the politics out of redrawing these seats. And they were complete novices, no fault of their own. But in doing so, they had to rely on individuals that should have known better and did know better. And you know, Bruce Adelson resigned, but he was one of the experts that led them astray. And so I think most of them were well-intentioned, are well-intentioned. And so when you just say the commission, it seems to put them all in one particular group. We know that there are those that still have not really caught on to the fact that they did violate the Voting Rights Act and not willing to really own that we made a mistake, and so we need to get it right. So I don't want to group them all the same. I appreciate those who have stood as individuals and said, we got it wrong, let's get it right. And so they're having hearings right now in the city of Detroit. Unfortunately, they did not send out information to all the community stakeholders to make sure that people could be there to let their voices be heard. But I do applaud those members that are now going to hold, I think it's Commissioner Lang and Kellum is going to hold a virtual session in addition to the 3 sessions that are going to happen Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at the Cadillac Place. Now they also have an additional virtual session on Thursday at 7 p.m. that people can register for or go to their website and find out, because right now they need the direction of Detroit voters to let them know what community of interest should remain together, what community groups should remain together, and that's the voice we need to hear. So citizens, we are encouraging them, all of them, to let their voices be heard in this process, because they have to get these maps done according to the judges by February the 2nd.
Yeah, that deadline is coming up quickly. We will be following this every step of the way. Sherry Gay Danyogo, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on.